online, on the TuneIn app, and on your smart speaker. Play Shock Radio.
This is Shock
News.
Hi, welcome to the Shock News podcast. I am joined by Noah Buckingham Reed, Alfie, Garner and Hartley. First up today, we are going to be discussing the Mandelson Files. Alfie, what do you have to tell us?
Yeah, so the Mandelson Files have been released today by the government. It relates mostly to Mandelson's appointment in 2024 as US Ambassador for the UK. It relates mostly to the fact that Starmer knew about Mandelson and his previous relations and also previous conduct, and also centres around the Epstein Files and how he was mentioned in the Epstein Files, how he was known to Epstein, and how Starmer potentially knew about this before appointing Mandelson to his post. We have to say Mandelson isn't in this post anymore. He hasn't been in this post for a few months now, but the files do show that Starmer was warned of the reputational risk of Epstein, of the link between Epstein and Mandelson. For Keir Starmer, it now comes down to what is he going to do next to help ensure that the investigations from the Met Police continue with full justice, and how will he recover from any potential risk over his reputation. One thing that we found out in these files is that when Mandelson was let go as the ambassador, he asked for a payout of £547,000 as his severance package.
Wow. Obviously, these files have only just been released the past day. Holly, I'll go to you. What do you think the general reaction from the public is going to be now that we know that Starmer did know what he was getting himself involved with when he appointed Mandelson?
Definitely a lot of outrage. I mean, people already dislike him a lot. So I think, to just sort of add more onto that fire, I think people are going to, the public isn't going to be happy. I think that's definitely a general summary. I mean, I'm currently on the BBC article, and there's 26,000 people viewing it at this moment. So it is an area of public interest that people are really, intrigued by, and to know, that he was warned of this reputational risk. People are just gonna, I think, really dislike him a lot more.
Do you think that it is now insurmountable? Because obviously there's some calls for him to resign for some time now for various different issues. Do you think this might be the straw that breaks the camel's back?
Yeah, definitely.
Noah?
Keir Starmer going would be a massive story. I think, it's been called upon from all sides, and what this does prove in a way is that he did know. And he said that as such in Prime Minister's Questions a few weeks ago when he was asked by the opposition, after Jeffrey Epstein's conviction in 2008, did the relationship continue? What these files, and again, these files came out in the last half an hour, this first sort of release, that we now know that relationship continued up until Jeffrey Epstein's death, I think, in fact. That there was a continued relationship. This was all part of the Labour Party's vetting. When you're picking government positions, when you're picking government ministers, when you're picking US ambassadors, these are important roles. These are things which are heavily looked at, heavily scrutinised, because they know that when you're in that position, you're going to be scrutinised. Being an ambassador to Washington is one of the biggest posts in the government. So the fact that that was known by the Labour Party, and the fact that it was known by Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, and there was no action taken, I think will now cause a rift within the Labour Party, distrust from your own backbenchers. We know that's been sort of the camel's back, which has yet to be broken on this Labour Party, is that sort of big bulk of backbench MPs. They've been outraged about things, they've been disliking of things. Now it's out there, this is out in the open. They know that their party were complicit in hiring this man even after they knew about his relationship to Jeffrey Epstein. Is that now going to be a brick en masse from within the party?
More on the files though, Alfie. What seems, in your opinion, to be the biggest story that's come out of these files being released? What's the bit that's going to hit the hardest for people?
The big story from all this at the moment is the fact that Mandelson requested such a massive payout. He got 75,000 in the end, which is a little bit less than the usual MP's salary, about 20 grand less. But 75 grand is still quite the severance package. That's, for a lot of people, 2 years' salary.
To be clear, this severance package was essentially money he got for being laid off.
Yes, so this is money that he got because he was laid off by the government because of reaction from both the Labour Party but also from the public regarding his conduct. What we also have found out in this file is that Keir Starmer's security advisor, this is coming from Politics UK on Twitter, but from the files, said that the appointment was unusual and weirdly rushed. That's Jonathan Powell, he's Keir Starmer's security advisor. It speaks volumes that over the last sort of 2-3 months, we've seen multiple of Starmer's chief of staff, close aides, resign over this scandal that's infected the Labour Party, and it's only now gone to a head and really become a major issue because of the release of these files and because of the release of what Mandelson did against the public interest because he had a role and he used that role to his advantage.
So what do you think, I'll open this up to the room now, what do you think are the next steps for this Labour government? Obviously that this is probably the biggest scandal they've had in their time in power. It is only really the cherry on top though in terms of the amount of discourse that they've generated since being elected. What's their next steps? Is there a way out? Is there a way that Labour can with or without Keir Starmer, have a chance at the next general election at this stage?
I think it's about proving that it's not rotten to the core, really. You look at, for a lot of that front cabinet, they all had relationships with Peter Mandelson, some of them close relationships with Peter Mandelson. Within that party, he was a very stable figure. I think you briefly mentioned how that sort of process was rushed through. I think many will point to that and say this is a Labour Party which had direct connections to the inside of this quite, like, when you look at it on the surface, disgusting operation that was taking place. And any idea that they enabled that and any of the cabinet, whether that party, the base of that party is rooted by people who enabled this, I think it's proving that that's not where they're at. I think it's going to be a difficult task.
Holly, do you think that the party can continue with Keir Starmer as its leader? Or do you think that they now are kind of going to be forced to think about, because of this scandal, think about changes right at the very top?
I think decisions might have to be made about, his leadership and his power that he's currently in, especially after, these have been released and, there's more, it's alive, there's more updates coming out. There was one about 2 minutes ago. I think that, they're going to have to sort of have some somewhat hard conversations about, what's been going on, but, it's all time will tell, I think.
I mean, even on this, and there's updates the last few minutes, that these media outlets are reading through the files and getting through them quicker than we are. But it says Starmer was actually not aware of the depth and extent of Mandelson-Epstein relationship as it's laid out in the document. It says a letter in the files outlines a meeting on 11th of September 2025, chaired by Keir Starmer, where the decision was made to fire him. And within that letter, it says that the answers Mandelson provided regarding the emails did not give him confidence there were not further revelations to come. So maybe he didn't know, but it wasn't exactly certain if there was more to come on it. He decided to go ahead with the firing of Peter Mandelson. Anyway, it's such a difficult one, and I think we'll only begin to really understand this fully over the next few days.
Just to clarify, at the time of recording, the files have literally dropped in the last hour or so?
Yeah,
the last hour and a half.
More and more
yeah,
updates.
so we'll be... Yeah, I'm sure that next week we'll have plenty more to talk about on it. But yeah, so it's a massive thing, isn't it? Yeah. Because it is... This Labour Party has been so routinely slammed in the press for a variety of reasons, and to now have this thing that's kind of been a shadow hovering over them for a long time now come out, and even if it does come out that Starmer maybe didn't know the extent of Mandelson's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, it's the fact that he knew anything at all is enough that I think probably could see the back of him very soon.
We're looking in this first release of 147 pages of evidence against Mandelson's name, essentially. It's the first release. We don't know how many more there is. What we do know is that Darren Jones earlier today spoke to Parliament and said a lot of the things that aren't in this file can't be released because it's been used for investigation by the police. That will be released after the police have been able to look after it and investigate it. Once that's happened, it would be released to the public through the same means that's happened. So we're looking potentially at 3 or more releases of this type of files, we're possibly sitting on about 300 pages worth of evidence here. We can't confirm that until all that's been released, but if it is upwards of 300 pages of these documents, it's not a good look for Mandelson, it's not a good look for the Labour Party by no uncertain means, and it's not a good look for Keir Starmer, who's now going to have to battle his way back through it. You know, the shadow chief secretary to the Prime Minister said, why isn't the Prime Minister here defending himself? Why isn't the person who appointed Mandelson in the Commons when he was there just an hour ago, and why is he not there to defend himself and say, this is why we did it in the first place, we realise it's wrong, we need to go back and figure out what we do next.
Obviously a developing story, and I'm sure there'll be more to come out, and we'll speak to you about it next week. But another problem that Starmer is having to deal with, obviously, is soaring petrol prices. Now, do either of you two drive, if you don't mind me asking?
I do not know.
You don't, Alfie?
I do drive. The petrol prices are insane.
They are
actually silly.
I mean, I don't think since I got my license, I don't think I've been able to ever afford to fill up my car all the way up anyway, because they've never exactly been cheap. But I can't even get it halfway these days. Noah, are you a driver?
I'm not, but I think we know enough people have been able to see the actual rise numerically over the past few weeks. You know, before even we talk about fuel duty prices, but the conflict in the Middle East at the moment, and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which is 20% of the world's oil, which comes through out of the Middle East, comes through that route. So obviously there's going to be a drop in supply, and therefore the demand is the same. So there's going to be price increases. It's difficult to know how far this really will go, and as the government have said today, we don't know what the situation is by the time that the fuel duty freeze comes to an end. They've got to make another decision. But yeah, I think anybody who drives their car around will be noticing at the moment that going to refill it up is much more increased than it was just a few weeks ago.
I mean, yeah, we're only going to see prices increase, apparently. You know, there's, like you say, more taxes to be added onto it. So it's actually going to get more expensive. Do you think that there's a better way that the government could be handling it?
Not really.
Yeah, it's business, isn't it? It's supply and demand, like you say, Noah. So the
supply situation out of their hand.
Yeah.
Huh? I mean, you know, it's easy to look at it, and as Cammy Badenoch went very hard in Prime Minister's questions today on why Labour not being clear on this, like duty prices have been stabilised since 2011. Why are this Labour government not committing to continuing that freeze? But it costs increasingly billions every year to maintain the freeze, and it will continue to do so. And if fuel prices are up, only increasing them by taking away the freeze would hurt drivers more. So it's an understandable concern from the opposition leaders, but it's almost an uncontrollable, it's an unpredictable thing to manage. And where we're at in a few months' time, the conflict in the Middle East could wrap up in a way that we can't foresee in the next few weeks, or it could still be going on months down the line. It's so difficult to predict.
Why do you think that the government are choosing to actually increase the taxes during a time where it is so expensive?
Because they need to. The government's struggling. They are starting to get out of a deficit they were handed down back in 2024. This is what they would say. And they need to increase sort of these tax levels to be able to do so. But also at a time, and by the way, the Prime Minister's keeping this fuel tax rise under review, but at a time where the cost of living is getting harder and harder every other month, we're starting to see it really weigh down on families. This is where families will get affected, and it's not just families. Fuel court owners will be massively affected by them. I've seen interviews in the last few weeks saying, I own this fuel court, I'm not making any money anymore. I was able to make maybe 5p profit. I've had to now get rid of that to make sure that I can still supply a good enough price. This is what we're looking at. We're not looking at a case of, we're doing fuel court owners are having to sort of follow up and chase the supply of demand and the price increases, but then the government now needs to consider that as well as 100 other things that they're going
we had a similar situation after the Russian invasion into Ukraine in 2022, when Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister at the time, committed to a 5p cut. That gives instant relief, but it puts a huge burden on the government from that point. to basically top up the rest of that the money which they're then taking away, and that was due to global oil prices being completely unpredictable, unstable for the first months of that invasion. Again, that managed to sort of not fix itself because we still have that continuing issue with Russia. But again, it just things stabilize. The market stabilize. The market find a way to supply that demand. In this case, we don't know how long that takes, and this freeze, which then came in after that, could still continue to help drivers if we still don't have a stabilization.
Holly, do you think that the decision to put increase the taxes on it now is a good call? Obviously, Alfie has said that we need it in terms of making some of the deficit up. However, at a time where the prices are soaring already, do you think it's the best choice?
I guess in the position that we're in now, it is. I mean, as we said, like there's not much else that could have been done. It's a very difficult position that they're in, and I think that whilst everyone has their own opinions on different parties, I feel like each party would have to make the same decision in the end. So I feel like everyone from the public is sort of thinking like, well, as much as I don't like the fact that the prices are going up, if you really think about it, there is good depth and reasoning behind it. So
you say that obviously every party, no matter the party in power, might have had to make the same decision. It hasn't stopped them from criticising, though, has it? So do you want to talk us through some of the criticisms that they've faced by other parties?
So the Tories have came out fighting, like I said, they came out fighting on this line specifically. They said the Conservatives in government froze fuel duty and also cut it in 2022 because we care about the cost of living. She said that Labour think drivers are a cash cow, and she said they're now hiking fuel duty for the first time in 15 years, and that everyone knows in this house, she said earlier, first they'll march as backbenchers up the hill, then they'll be forced to defend fuel duty rises in the local elections, then there'll be another humiliating U-turn. I mean, if that's sort of quite a scathing look at the state of it and how the backbenchers have shared concerns of how they feel they've had to defend things only for those things to then be U-turned on. That's the line from the Tories. The Liberal Democrat leader, Ed Davies, said just wanted to find assurances that energy bills won't rise by hundreds of pounds. And Keir Starmer can only give so much because it's so unpredictable right now of where they're going to go. And like I said, these decisions that every party may have made, may have changed, but we know that the Conservatives did make the decision to freeze the prices, and that's the attack line they'll use if Labour choose to not do that.
We've seen sort of reform on the attack as well. Only yesterday they took over a petrol station to open the reform petrol station, where they offered a 25p discount, which in the grand scheme of things is a little bit, but it's not enough. And during that entire press conference that they held afterwards, they were getting attacked by the media saying, yes, you're reducing this tax, but you've also said in your manifestos and your commitments, you also said it to in your local campaigning on the upcoming elections in May, that you would in fact rise, you won't be able to cut council tax. In fact, you're going to rise it, and then in their that's what's happening. And then in their sort of preamble and the getting ready, they're going to say, we're going to cut your council tax. We're going to make sure that you're saving a bit of money here and there, and then not being able to follow through. So it comes down to a question of, if they were to get elected in 2029 and this sort of thing is still going on, would they be able to cut prices, and would they be able to sort of steady the market, or are we going to see something that happened back in 2022 where the markets got scared and everything started increasing by a massive amount?
Any more comments from you now?
I think we covered it.
The prices are going up. It's only going to get more expensive with the car. It's a rough time to be a driver.
It's a rough time to be alive as well, because
it's a rough time to be alive. Is that
it all comes out as well. Mortgage deals are being cut at the same time as the fuel prices are going up. For a lot of families, these were being made at the same time, where interest rates were actually at quite a low point compared to the last 5 years. You know, we've seen the interest rates go back to a level that they were in about 2021-ish, just during the COVID calm down. But now mortgage deals are being pulled from the market. Some are saying that they are not actually able to get one because the rates are rising out of control. Money Facts, in fact, is saying it's at its highest level since August this year, and we're seeing the most deals being pulled since the mini budget of 2022.
Goodness me, it is. What a time to be alive, eh? I will say, do we have any good news we can bring to the Shock News audience on this podcast? Jeremy Vine recently hosted a show where he spoke about apparently that 1 in 3 young people have never tried a pork pie. I'm getting clapped by the gallery out there.
There's a very happy Elliot Hartley.
So I've tried a pork pie. Alfie, you've not.
No.
A pork pie.
A pork pie. Have you tried a pork pie before? You've not
Did you
tried a pork
not?
pie? I'm surrounded by people. Oh, no, you have.
I have
Pork
tried
pie. No, I don't think so. I didn't realise there was such a common snack. Is this where we're going with this?
Yeah, so the idea is that pork pies have just kind of fallen in popularity amongst younger people.
Is this proof? Were we living proof
Yeah.
of this fall off in
Half
popularity?
of us.
Well, to be fair, there was 6 people in the studio earlier, and there were 2 of them hadn't had a pork pie before, and 4 of them had, which added up with Jeremy Vine's math that 1 in 3 have never tried a pork pie.
Why are they telling me that?
Do you know? So where I'm from in Leicestershire, I'm nearby Melton Mowbray, and that's like the capital city of pork pies. I'm sure.
Okay.
No, it genuinely is. It's a strange flex, but it is. So Melton Mowbray pork pies, on point. I've never tried a pork pie from somewhere else, so maybe actually, my love for them is misguided. Maybe they're not as good everywhere else. But
I think maybe we've just got the bad, Tesco versions, and you maybe got the authentic deal.
You've got the best of the best.
You've got the best of the best.
if you've got the opportunity to go to Melton Mowbray pork pie shop, it's across from my old what's it called? It's across from my old dentist. Used to go in there and then go to the dentist. He wasn't too much of a fan, but yeah, go there, have a pork pie, and you'll see it is.
The magic
Doesn't get much
the
better.
magic of them. Okay.
That is assuming you can afford to flip your car to drive down.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, the research was from Tesco. So Tesco did a poll, and it said 84% of Brits have tried one. However, a third of the UK population between 18 and 24 had not tried the savoury staple. It comes for Tesco as they are launching a new pork pie inspired sandwich.
pork pie inspired sandwich.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that so? What
What's
is?
included in the sandwich?
I'm going to assume a pork pie.
It's
Between 2 pieces of bread.
yeah, essentially it's just
Is that what it is?
put it in Hannah. It's malted brown bread with sliced pork meat, cheddar cheese, and a piccalilli relish.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be buying it. I'll be giving it a go. I like
All
pork
included in
pie.
the meal deal. Of course.
Is it in the meal deal?
Of course it is. Tesco.
Okay. Well, we've got our one young person ambassador for pork pies.
Yes.
You're making the state envoy for the ambassador.
So you can get your pork pie inspired sandwich, set of 2 pork pies, and whatever drink you want, because most people go with the Diet Coke or Red Bull. That was the most popular drink last year.
And again, other meal deals are available.
Yeah,
The meal
good
deals
to
are
see.
available. So next up, enough of the fun stuff. We don't worry. We're going back to some bleak news. So the MEN have reported a few days ago that Salford City Council have got themselves into a little bit of hot water. Noah, do you want to tell us a bit more?
Yeah, so this is a story that's been going on for a couple of months now, sort of rumbling on. And it all sort of sparked from a cover-up claim, which was made against the council for deleting emails of complaints made to councillors. And this was an email sent to, I think the range is, 50, so there's only 60 councillors in Salford Council, so there's a huge amount of the councillors. And that was wiped from all of their inboxes. So when some councillors made were made aware that this was deleted from their inbox, they raised concerns to the leadership, the executive and the council, and therefore it was sort of triggered into an investigation. So back in early February, we thought this case was closed. There was an investigation into it, and the claim of a cover-up was basically, they're cleared of it, the council were cleared of it, there was a formal review, found no evidence, there was, went to 45 of the members, including the city mayor, Paul Dennett, and basically they decided that the IT department, it was referred to the IT department, who decided that they sent a follow-up asking for details. What you need is to know that the person that you're talking to is a constituent within the council area, and some personal details. They can process the complaint. Unfortunately, none of that was provided, so the IT cleared it. That was where we were about a month and a bit ago now. But what has come out in the MEN over the weekend is that actually it does go deeper than this, and I think you have a bit more information on the FOI request that the MEN made.
So yes, so they made the request, obviously, to try to find out more about the information of what went down essentially. And as it turns out, councillor, someone called, I didn't get the name correctly, Tracy Kelly had actually asked the. Let me just double check I'm reading this right, because this is quite a big deal. So Councillor Kelly actually asked the IT department to delete the emails. It wasn't a mistake. It still is unclear whether or not she was deleting them to prevent a cover-up, or if she was deleting them because she thought they needed to be deleted.
I think essentially what Councillor Tracy Kelly said, asked the IT department to do it. It was an independent assessment from the IT department to do it, and therefore that's sort of the new investigation that's coming up. But
so the investigation that was initially held, that was discovered that it wasn't a cover-up and that it was just essentially a misunderstanding. Was an internal investigation, and they are now across with different party political groups in Salford. They're all calling for an external investigator to come in and to try to rectify and understand what has happened. Holly, I'll go to you. So, how big of a hit on trust for the Salford City Council is if it does turn out that there was a scandal, essentially, because they have been trying to cover up what is potentially quite a big complaint?
I mean, whilst people do love a scandal, I feel as though it just puts people in a position where they just feel like they just can't trust the people that are meant to be looking after them in a sense as part of their council. So I think people will just think, it's hard to
put into words exactly what the impact might be, because obviously
in theory we don't know exactly what will happen, but
we know that there's definitely been some funny business.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, some funny business has definitely taken place.
But also we don't know what was in the emails either that people have been complaining about. So we don't know what's gone on between the councils and stuff either.
It's difficult to know, isn't it? Again, we don't know the sort of how far this could go. I imagine the council will now hopefully call an independent inquiry into it. Tracy Kelly's the most senior elected official behind Paul Dennett, and therefore her making this formal request and stepping in on behalf of an email sent to a wide variety of councillors could be seen as something that was actually none of her business to do, and the complaint should have been processed independently from an elected member to have that authority to step in and get an email deleted. There was 2 separate email complaints made, and what they could have been outlining. Therefore, I think the public deserve to know, and at least the councillors deserve to know why that there was interference from the executive on their own inboxes. I think that's a valid concern and one that will be looked into. We're just reading through more of this here, and it was her that sort of requested that this be processed. Really, she requested it to be deleted, and that was her specific personal request to the IT department.
And all this comes at a time where we are, only a few months now, only 2 months away from a May election, where a lot of these councillors possibly are facing re-election, and now these councillors are embroiled in a new scandal. Tracy Kelly's part of the Labour Party. She was possibly one of the few people facing re-election in this upcoming May elections. If this does turn out to be a case of it goes to external investigation, the external investigators say, actually, you were all wrong, this all was true, the FOI request and the investigation by the MEN suggests that you're all in the wrong. If that comes out any time before the local elections, I think they're all going to be out of a job, possibly. It's a possibility that it ruins their council's reputation, also ruins them as councillors and their reputation.
I can say that I do think the Labour Party are aware and concerned almost in a way about it, because they've been out on almost the campaign trail for months now. It's almost every weekend that Paul Dennett has been tweeting saying, I'm on the trail out campaigning for Salford Labour. They had their big budget just a couple of weeks ago, where they sort of made a big point of saying it's a no cuts budget, no cuts are being made. But council tax was increased the maximum amount without a direct referendum, and now this scandal putting into doubt 2 of those top leadership people, including Tracy Kelly, including Deputy Mayor Jack Hughes, the Mayor Paul Dennett, and I think they'll want to quite quickly brush this under the carpet, and the way they can do that is either by settling an independent inquiry, although Tracy Kelly has said that they reject any suggestion that a thorough and appropriately conduct review was not undertaken. So they sort of deny the fact that it wasn't vigorous, the first investigation. To properly clear this now, it might take another sort of review.
Yeah, another developing story. We'll have to keep you updated on that one. One final thing before we close off for the show today. Some good news in Salford. A brand new homeless facility has opened. James Worthington, who has spent the past 6 years hoping to get developed through much personal strain on himself, has finally been able to open it up. So there is good news for the people of Salford.
It's good. He's a big hitter on TikTok. I've seen some of his TikTok content.
Have you two seen him on TikTok?
I haven't seen him on TikTok.
He has gone a little bit viral. A very
he?
own sort of Salford boy gone viral for doing some really great stuff.
He's bringing some Salford to the world.
Everyone
Exactly.
needs a little bit of
Everyone
Salford.
needs a little bit of Salford.
Yeah.
And the new place looks like a really cool little setup. So
He's done well with it. He's doing well with it, and I think he'll continue to do well, and he's doing really good things for the community.
That is all we have got time for today. I've been Will Phillips, joined by Noah Buckingham Reed, Alfie Garner and Holly Carter. This has been the Shock News Podcast. Thank you for watching and listening.